One day, without warning, it will land on you. Not like a revelation, not like a breakdown, not even like something important. Just a quiet moment, washing your hands, looking through a window, sitting somewhere you've sat 100 times before, and then it slips in, dry and undeniable. Was that it? No music, no witnesses, no drama to justify the weight of it. Just a subtle collapse. Everything you postponed, everything you endured, everything you believed would one day make sense, doesn't close. It doesn't resolve. It doesn't return meaning. It just stops pretending. And this is the part no one prepared you for. Because you were trained to continue, never to question. You were told to improve, to grow, to evolve, as if life were a straight line pointing somewhere worthy. But no one ever showed you that place. No one proved it exists. Still, you believed. You believed when you compared yourself. You believed when you sacrificed what was real for what might be. You believed when you told yourself, later, it will be worth it. And the strangest part? Even when something works, it fades, quickly. It dissolves into the background, becomes normal, becomes nothing. Then something else appears. Another target, another, this time it's real. Another quiet agreement to keep moving. This isn't failure, it's structure. The human mind is not built to arrive. It is built to normalize everything. What you think will save you becomes invisible the moment you touch it. And then something else replaces it. Again, and again, and again. You are chasing something that moves at the exact same speed as you. Look at that, carefully. If every arrival loses meaning, if every achievement expires, if every almost there becomes not this, then maybe the problem was never the path. Maybe it was the idea that there is an end. This is where Dōgen didn't adjust the system. He dismantled it. Practice is not a means to enlightenment. Practice is enlightenment. No after, no destination, no future version of you waiting to finally be enough. And this is where the mind hesitates. Because if that's true, then all this urgency, all this comparison, all this movement is unnecessary, not inefficient, unnecessary. And for a brief moment, if you don't resist it, something strange happens. The weight shifts, not because life is solved, but because there is nowhere left to run. And without noticing it, you stop. Before you chose anything, something was already moving. No name, no direction, no clear beginning. And still, you were carried. Not as someone deciding, but as someone being gently pulled by a current that never reveals itself fully. At first it feels natural, almost beautiful. Small repetitions, subtle expectations, unspoken agreements shaping your behavior. And slowly, something forms around you. Not a prison, a pattern. And patterns, when repeated long enough, become identity. So you continue. Not because you chose to, but because you are already inside it. And the most delicate part? There's never enough pain to stop. Only a quiet discomfort. Persistent. Hard to explain. Like nostalgia for something that never happened. Like something was lost, without ever being seen clearly. Time moves, no rupture, no announcement. Life happens, but never lands. Experiences touch you, but don't stay. Everything passes through, and somewhere, unnoticed, a gap appears. Small, almost invisible. A moment where the movement falters, and for a second, nothing needs to continue. But that moment isn't recognized, because recognizing it would require stopping. And stopping feels impossible when you've spent your whole life in motion. So it passes, the current resumes. But something has shifted, subtle, irreversible. a quiet fatigue that no longer fully believes the movement. Dōgen looked precisely here, not at the visible motion, but at what sustains it. And he didn't offer direction, he offered dissolution. To study the way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. Forget, not improve, not refine, not transcend. Forget, because the self that runs was assembled. Layer by layer, expectation by expectation, and anything assembled can fall apart, not through force, but through the absence of support. And when that begins, even for a moment, the center weakens, urgency loosens, direction fades, and something entirely different appears, not as an answer, not as a result, but as space, open, silent, without the need to go anywhere. There. The race makes no sense, not because it was lost, but because it never existed. The future controls your life without ever having existed once. It has never been touched, never inhabited, never lived. And still, it dictates everything. This should feel absurd, but it doesn't, because it was installed too early. A quiet promise, somewhere ahead, everything will make sense. And from that point, something subtle begins to decay. The present becomes insufficient, not because it is lacking, but because it has been downgraded to a means, a corridor, a transition, a not yet. And this is where suffering is born, not as pain, but as tension, low, constant, persistent. You don't fully rest, even when you stop. Something inside keeps calculating, projecting, anticipating, as if life is always about to begin, but never does. This mechanism isn't accidental. Projection creates the illusion of control, but there's a fracture in that logic. The body does not clearly distinguish between what is imagined and what is real. So when you project constantly, you activate the future as if it's happening now, but it never resolves. So the system stays alert. Days pass in silent urgency, fatigue without cause, a vague sense of insufficiency, even when nothing is actually missing. This accumulates, not as tragedy, as erosion, a life postponed in invisible fragments. Dōgen didn't soften this, he cut through it. To seek is to depart. Seeking projects, projection displaces. Displacement removes you from what is. There is no solution inside that structure, because every step forward reinforces the distance. See the precision in that? The future doesn't need to exist to control you. It only needs to be believed. And as long as it is, the present will always feel incomplete. But look carefully. The future never arrives. It only appears as the present. And when it does, it is immediately replaced. This has never failed. And it never will. Because it's not an error. It's the system working perfectly. So the question changes. Not, how do I get there? But something far more uncomfortable. What remains? When you stop believing there is something ahead to reach. Not as an idea, but as rupture. No projection, no promise, no later. Dōgen says it without softness. Here is the place, now is the time. Nothing moves, nothing needs to become. And for a brief moment, when this isn't resisted, the weight disappears. Not because it was solved, but because it was never here, only in what never arrived. Arrival is where illusion loses its last refuge, because until then, it works. It works in distance, in promise, in lack. But when nothing is missing, it has nowhere to hide, and very few can stay there. Because the moment of arrival doesn't have the density you imagined. It doesn't hold, it dissolves. And what follows is never advertised. A clean emptiness, not dramatic, not poetic, just open space where expectation used to be. And that space is unbearable to a mind addicted to movement. because there's nothing left to push toward. And then something becomes obvious. It was never that. It was never any of it. Different goals, different versions, different lives. The outcome is identical, because the error was not in the choice, it was in the belief. The belief that something external could resolve what was never external. This realization doesn't explode, it erodes, quietly. Years of effort don't fail. But they don't complete anything either. They reveal. They expose that the promise was never in the world, but in what you projected onto it. Dōgen leaves no escape. To seek outside is to go astray. Every movement towards something creates distance from what already is, and the more refined the search, the more subtle the separation, until it collapses, not dramatically, but gently, like a question that loses its relevance without ever being answered. And in that moment, the search doesn't end by decision. It simply stops continuing, because there is nothing sustaining it anymore. What remains is not emptiness as lack. It is emptiness without need, a silence that doesn't ask for completion. And for the first time, nothing is missing. Not because everything was achieved, but because the idea of lack is gone. To stop is not to waste time. It is to see that time never took you anywhere. And that changes everything. Because when movement is no longer required, something always hidden begins to show, not as discovery, as recognition. Dōgen didn't teach progress. He pointed to something far more unsettling. Sitting itself is the complete expression of truth. No preparation, no advancement, no later, just this, sitting, breathing, not as a method, but as the end of methods. And this is where the mind resists hardest, because it turns everything into a path. Even stillness becomes a strategy. Even presence becomes a tool. But here, there is no room for that. Without destination, there is no practice as a means. And without means, the act is complete. Eating doesn't lead anywhere. That's why it can be whole. Walking builds nothing. That's why it can be full. Breathing improves nothing. That's why it doesn't need to. Everything you were taught said, this must serve something. Now, nothing needs to serve anything, and that doesn't empty life. It gives it weight. A simple act, water on hands, a quiet room, a passing sound, stops being a transition and becomes the experience itself. No hidden urgency, no second layer, just what is happening, complete. Even science touches the surface of this. When the mind isn't split between past and future, anxiety drops, the body relaxes, the system stabilizes. But Dōgen wasn't pointing to calm, he was pointing to truth. When you stop interfering, all things confirm you. Reality without resistance is already sufficient, and in that, something rare happens. Life is no longer being used, no longer being organized, no longer being pushed. It is simply lived, without translation, without asking, what is this for? And when that question disappears, something opens. Not ecstasy, not intensity, but a simplicity so complete it almost goes unnoticed. Nothing missing, nothing extra, nothing to continue. And still, everything happens, effortlessly, without center, without someone carrying it forward. And that, quietly, is enough. Nothing needs to happen for this to be complete. And that may be the hardest truth to accept, because everything in you was built to reject it. A lifetime of becoming, improving, correcting. And suddenly, something whispers. There is nothing missing. The mind tries to use it, to reshape it, to turn it into something useful. But it fails, because this cannot be used. It doesn't improve you. It doesn't move you forward. It doesn't give you advantage. It only dissolves. It dissolves the need to become, the pressure to justify your existence, the tension of continuing. Dōgen doesn't comfort. He states, "Do not carry the self into things. Let things confirm the self." And when that happens, the axis shifts. You are no longer the center organizing reality. Reality simply unfolds, without separation, without problem, not as philosophy, as direct experience. Sound doesn't need meaning, action doesn't need purpose, the moment doesn't need continuation. Everything is already complete before thought touches it, and the self loses weight, not dramatically, just no longer central, like a voice that remains but no longer commands. And without that center, life softens, not because it improved, because it stopped being carried. And then something almost trivial reveals itself. A body at rest, a quiet gaze, a breath that goes nowhere. And for the first time, that is enough. No effort, no maintenance, no fear of losing it, just enough. Maybe this is what was avoided all along, not out of error, but conditioning. Simplicity was always available. It just seemed too small for a mind addicted to greatness. Until one day, without announcement, the search gets tired. And what remains is not failure. It is rest. A rest that doesn't come after winning, but after no longer fighting what already is. And in that silent space, something becomes clear without needing defense. You don't need to arrive anywhere, because you were never anywhere else. You've been running, thinking something was waiting for you at the end, but nothing is. And that's exactly why this moment matters more than anything you've been chasing. If this hit you, even a little, don't just scroll away. Become a member. There are over 100 exclusive videos waiting for you. Deeper, more honest, more confronting than anything you'll find outside. And if you feel that this content speaks what most avoid, leave a super thanks. It's how this continues. It's how this stays real. But truly, just being here, watching, sharing, you're already part of this, and that matters more than you realize.